Hi, my name is Amy from Seda Films. Today I'm joined by my guest, Mr. Adekola Emmanuel, to
Yes.
discuss invisible disabilities. So, Kola, can you just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and the work that you do?
My name is Kola. I'm the founder and CEO of Kolimo Multimedia. Basically, what we do is we're into production, cinematography, photography, and we also do a lot of branding and advertisements. I was born with sickle cell, and I don't know. I think when I was born, when I was younger, I didn't even know I was sickle cell. I just knew it was like I was always falling sick, and
Sickle cell
yeah,
isn't generally referred to as a disability. In fact, I believe it's kind
yeah,
of you
it's
shy
just,
away from even defining it as such,
yeah.
right? But would you agree that sickle cell is a form of invisible disability?
For me personally, I'm just going to relate it to like my own experience, right? I can see sickle cell being a disability mostly because of the limitations. I'll give you an example. Actually, earlier today, I took painkillers before coming here. That's because I was feeling some level of pain. Um, yeah, and sometimes there are certain things I want to do and they are limited just because I am not able to either meet up. Okay, so for example, like work wise, how it affects me work wise, right? I'm not able to I'm not able to meet up with or like travel plans sometimes. Sometimes I do have travel plans where I either miss them or fall sick during the shoot. So yeah, so that's I would say that's the way it's a disability for me because I'm very limited in what I can do if I wasn't like sick. Like you said, it's invisible. So physically, like you can't see anything wrong with me, even though like there are definitely features of someone who's sickle cell that are sometimes prominent, sometimes not right. For example, I don't swim. Doesn't mean I can't swim or I cannot try and swim. I don't swim because I can't stay long hours in the water because once water gets into my bones, my joints, it gets clotted, and then basically the sickle cells get clotted, and I start having joint pains. So that's just like I can go for a trip with friends and everybody jump in the pool. Me, I'm just there. That's just like an example of how it can be limiting. Um,
What about even just like exposure to like lower temperatures?
so these people think we can't drink cold water, we can't be in cold places, right? We can, but basically what it's really about is people. You need to know that there's a transition. So we need to learn the transition from being in a cold place to being in a hot place. So I can be in a cold place, but I can't jump into being in a hot place after being cold.
Right.
Do you understand? And I can't be hot and jump into cold. So
Okay.
that's what happens in the pool. When I'm like warm, I jump in the pool and I get cold.
Right. So
Then
it's like that
yes,
sensation.
exactly. And then when I get out of the pool, I can't just warm myself up. I have to
Right.
slowly
Transition
calm
into
down. Yeah.
heat.
So this happens to me sometimes when I sleep off and maybe my AC is on, and then when I wake up, I don't jump into the hot shower. I just get my cover cloth and slowly calm down. So that's basically like some of the limitations I would say. Yeah.
Sickle cell is quite misunderstood. Um, Not many people are overly familiar with
Yeah.
some of the challenges or the unique features of a person with sickle cell. I have like over a handful of friends who have sickle cell, so I kind of understand that experience, and I understand when
Yeah.
they're having like a crisis and how
Yeah.
to also like care for them and be there for them. But it is largely misunderstood, right?
Yeah.
What are
Exactly.
some of the misconceptions that you faced with
Um.
having sickle cell?
Another thing is people think people with sickle cell cannot do physical work, right? Um, they think we can't do physical work, like we can't go to work like a normal person. We can't drink cold water, can't be under the cold. Um, Also like having a family. Um, yeah, I think basically what I would just like to say to clarify like a lot of things is anybody with sickle cell can do everything a normal person would do. Just that there are just limitations or things that like the society needs to get used to, right? Another thing too, people with sickle cell have feelings, emotions. That's the major thing that really I feel like that's the major invisible thing about someone with sickle cell. A lot of what happens to us is more mental than even physical because of the amount of pain we go through. Do you get? So I would say that like most people don't know that we do have mental mental battles, depression, right? So like even when someone falls sick, for example, even if like I'm working in a place and I fall sick, even after I'm done, after I get better, I need at least a week to mentally. Do you know how much pain? So just like sometimes you can compare sickle cell pain with labor, right? And then just imagine a woman goes out of labor and the next day she's at work. Do you understand? That's how it feels for us too.
Like you need,
Yeah,
you need recovery time.
recovery time,
And
exactly.
just to get back to yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't just go from like it's almost like what you
Yeah.
said about getting out from the pool and going straight to
Exactly.
heat. You need to transition
Back
so
into
that also plays
society.
out
Exactly.
in like daily life.
Yeah. Another thing people always say is they always say sickle cells. Okay, so there are two things. Some people think sickle cell patients or people living with sickle cell cannot live to a certain age. Right.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Yeah, and then there's also one thing that says, oh, once you pass the age of 30, you're okay. Yeah, so that's not true. I'm 31 now. I still get crisis. But however, the difference between me then and now, I get less crisis than when I was younger.
Okay.
And the difference is because I now have more knowledge about how to take care of myself and what my triggers are. Right? A lot of people don't know what the triggers are. A lot of people blame sickle cell patients for their own crisis. Right. So these are some of the things that we definitely need to like people need to understand. If more people understand what our triggers are, like both friends and families. I've definitely had someone also call me a drug addict. And this person was a doctor and this person slapped me as well at the same time. But that was a case for another day. But basically what happened was because I was in a lot of pain and then we went to the hospital. This was like in the night, like 2 a.m. And we're like, oh, they should give me drugs basically. And this guy thought like I was on ibuprofen or something. Like maybe I was like taking drugs. And then he was like, I should shut up. You get instead of actually basically.
Why would he tell you to shut up?
Because I was in pain and I was screaming.
Oh, because you were screaming.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
And he couldn't handle that. So it was about him now.
Yeah, no, he was just like, why are you
screaming?
Why are you screaming? We know what you want. You want painkillers.
Okay, so he felt like you were being dramatic.
Yes, exactly.
Over-exaggerating.
But I was actually in pain. Do you understand? Yeah. So a lot of people don't believe that the pain is real. Yeah. Or as real as it gets. Like for me to even go on. Sorry.
No, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. In fact, the pain from what I've witnessed, friends who are having a crisis, it's actually excruciating. Like it's really shocking because I think I was probably on the other side of that maybe when I was younger and more ignorant, but when I was finally exposed to it, a friend having a crisis, it hurt me because I couldn't comprehend how much pain she was in, but she was literally screaming like maybe like if she screamed loud enough the pain would stop, like, and it just didn't stop. So I can just imagine what it feels like to be experiencing it.
So there are a lot of like we can go on about like misconceptions because a lot of people, and that's what I think the big thing about advocacy, and that's what I've been also like open to speak about, because growing up I was never really open about like speaking about it, not really because I didn't want to. It was two things, because one, if I'm going to speak about it, means I'm going to tell you I'm sickle cell, right? And then second, if I do tell you, like, why do I need to talk more about it, right? But like now I have a better knowledge of why do I need to speak about it, right? Why do I need to speak about it? I need more people to know, right? So that other people living with sickle cell can have a better life. I also need more people to know so that we can also prevent more people from getting married. So like I'm part of Sickle Cell Foundation, and we always have this event called Break the Sickle Cycle, right?
Okay.
So what we do is that we do KYGs, that's know your genotype, and we also like basically let people know what their genotypes are.
Right.
So if you know what your genotype is, you would be able to like, so people with AS can't marry people with sickle cell.
Yes.
Right, exactly. And so once you know what your genotype is, well, you would basically avoid getting married with someone with a genotype that does not match, right?
So I want to shift gears here.
Okay.
Into, I guess, our line of work a bit.
Okay.
How do you think that media
Mm-hmm.
and popular culture can contribute to a better understanding of
Yeah.
people with invisible disabilities?
Yeah, so I have a friend who has this NGO called Cognitive. Sorry, I can't remember the full name now.
I think it's COAG, Cells of a Generation.
Yeah, exactly, COAG.
Yeah.
So I've seen her do comics, right, for kids, and it has like information about like information about sickle cell, and I feel like that's amazing because children need to know about sickle cell, and it's very important. So I feel like comics, reading materials, like media can really use that to educate. Because I remember growing up, like none of my peers knew what sickle cell was. It almost felt like I had AIDS then when I was in school. Because I remember there was a time where they had to announce to everybody that, oh, I have sickle cell, and I felt really ashamed that day because
who had to announce, your teacher?
Yeah. So I think I can't remember what happened. Okay, I think there was a time I fainted in class. And then it was just like I hated. Yeah, I don't know why I fainted then. I don't even still today because I've never fainted after that. But or maybe I didn't faint. Maybe I actually was just sick. But like since then, shout you now. And since then, like that whole period in school, like it was like, oh, everybody in the whole school color fainted. Like it was as if I had AIDS.
They have stigmatized you.
It was not like, yeah, exactly. And I definitely have had like let's not say when I start going back, because I had kids literally. I already had a kid who calculated how long I was going to live for. I'm serious. So in secondary school.
Sorry, it's not.
I'm sorry. It's funny. It's okay to laugh about it now, but then I would like for me to even still remember it. This something about secondary school. He was like, I can't remember. I think it was probably like maybe 12 or so, and he was like, I think he said, was like, oh, that if I'm by this age now, and then by maybe this amount, I'm going to live to 20. Then he said like 25 or so.
What?
Yeah, he said about that amount and all that. But
but you surpassed his
exactly.
calculation.
But my point is just that like if there was like more knowledge about it, like kids won't be able to. That's I'm talking about even at the kid level.
Exactly.
You get maybe more cartoons about it, and then for the mass media we can definitely do more commercials. Maybe commercials for like even maybe we can support more of these NGOs, because I know NGOs are really doing a lot. I know there's a lot of funding for like other diseases and disabilities, but like there's almost no funding for sickle cell.
There's minimal funding.
There's minimal. Honestly. Okay, I'll say minimal. Yeah. So like it's mostly individuals are funding it.
That are just like passionate
about it. Yeah. So there's not a lot of passion towards sickle cell.
I think that passion will increase or can increase.
Yes.
When these conversations continue to be
had, I agree.
Then it becomes widespread.
I agree.
That's how we move into the mainstream.
Yes.
Because that visibility is important. Like this conversation is important, and I always say it's ongoing. Yeah. I don't think it's like non-exhaustive. Right. Another thing is you and I are both filmmakers, right? And you mentioned like mass media.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think I think advertising, which we've both done. We both directed, shot, edited, whatever. Like adverts for different companies. I think even as we're like doing our pitches with these companies, we can include a person with disability or a person with some kind of condition in the character profiles. We can suggest like, we can suggest using characters who are maybe not the norm, and have them in like a leading role in those segments.
It's interesting you say that, because like I remember for the first time in my life, I think it was a while back, I watched a Nigerian movie that there was a sickle cell child in it.
I hope they did justice.
They did. I mean, I'll say they did because that was the first time I could relate to a Nigerian movie ever.
Oh, nice.
Like in
And it was
terms of
accurate.
yeah, because of like with the way the parents were reacting and the way the child was reacting towards the pain and all that. Like that was the first time I felt seen. I don't know if that made sense in a Nigerian movie. So I felt like that was, and it definitely also inspired my short film I created as well. So I was like, okay, we need to create more stories about sickle cell. I think my own short film was called The Longest Trip,
Yeah, I
and
remember that.
the
Yeah.
idea behind it is that because for me the longest trip, like I'm talking about like car trip, road trip, plane ride, is actually from my house to the hospital, because like that's the most painful, because that's before I can even get relief.
Exactly.
So yeah, so that's basically what the story is about, letting people know, because I feel people know that sickle cell patients go through pain, they know, but they don't know how much.
Yeah.
And they don't know that half of the time is life threatening.
Yeah.
Not half, all the time actually.
Yeah.
Because sickle cell pain can lead to a stroke, and stroke is the highest form, is what really kills a lot of people with sickle cell. Yeah. So yeah, definitely media has like a big role to play. Podcasts like this, like you said, it's like a perfect way. More influencers. I think what was it Adekunle that came up and said he was like he was sickle cell as well, right? And it was really crazy because it felt like that was the first time Nigerians knew about sickle cell. I don't
Right.
know. I was just like, what?
But I think it's not that they didn't know, and I'm
No,
gonna
they
touch
knew.
upon
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
But I
exactly.
think it's like that's where the you realize that there was stigma and discrimination in their
Exactly.
general attitude, because it was like, oh, how did you make it this big? You're even
Exactly.
alive at
Exactly.
you're 30 plus,
Yeah.
because that's really what
Like
the
how you
underlying.
married, how you having
Oh,
a
like you have
family.
all of
Exactly.
this and you have it. So they know that this is a thing, but they just don't. They have this
Yeah.
discrimination or prejudice towards a
Yeah.
person with any kind of condition
Yeah.
that seems abnormal. That like you cannot really reach that level of success, similar to
Exactly.
your classmate who had already
Yeah.
predestined you for
Exactly.
an early grave. We thank God that you've
Yeah.
outlived that prediction. But yeah, I mean it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to discuss briefly is like maybe because the awareness like globally, would you say that okay, would you say that global awareness is limited because sickle cell is not widespread around the world? I think that's another, maybe, is it a misconception or is it a fact?
It's a fact.
Okay, can you touch up on the fact?
It's a fact because okay, so not to sound racist, but people always say that like sickle cell is a black man disease.
Yes.
Exactly. So like it's mostly majority black men or black people who have sickle cell. It's sorry, this topic is very, because it's so true, because I felt like by now if sickle cell was like generally there'll be a cure.
Exactly.
Because I also don't think that sickle cell needs so much, because it's blood.
Right.
It's a blood disease, right? And yes, we have the bone marrow transplant, which is very risky, and that is also like not all the time successful. And by the time you get to a certain age too, like there's no cure. There have been definitely pharmaceutical trials, drugs that have come out. I currently use what's it called? I currently use sorry, my brain is listening. So I currently use folic acid,
okay,
and hydrourea, and it really really helps, because it helps. I mean, at a point it depends on your dosage, right? So that helps, but at a point it just almost becomes like, or maybe your body gets used to it. Sometimes you need to up your dosage, right? And there's also not enough information about it. So what happened? I went to Turkey. There's a time in 2010 I went to Turkey and I fell sick there, and I went to 3 cities.
wow,
Until I ended up in I think it was Ankara. Yes, that's where I ended up. And then that was the hospital there. It was a teaching hospital. So the good thing about that is that the doctor literally had to learn how to treat sickle cell. And then after me, he created a case using me to treat other patients who like they didn't even know.
Wow. But he was open to learn, which
He
is
was open to learn,
yeah.
but before then, I went to two other hospitals that they put me in the ICU, and they thought I was either like I was going to be maybe a new COVID,
Okay.
or like literally they were not touching me. They were just looking through like a screen and pressing the buttons. Like they couldn't touch me. They were not giving me painkillers. So that's because they didn't have knowledge and they were not open to learn. So yes, it's outside Nigeria. Like that's why some people like, oh, I should leave the country. Maybe it'll be better. It might not be better.
Not always, because I actually
Yeah,
have
because
friends in
yeah. So
like
the
UK and US. They have similar struggles.
exactly.
Um,
So yeah.
yeah.
So I feel like a global awareness would be amazing.
Maybe what advice would you give to organizations, or what resources could
Yeah.
individuals seek out to be more informed
Yeah.
about the struggles of a person with sickle cell or another invisible disability?
Yeah. Um yeah, I just think that maybe either first I'll say on the individual level, like more individuals, because it's not like these things are not out there. It's just the interest. Like you see a
So get
flyer,
curious.
yeah, you see a flyer, you see a like. I understand how like the human nature when something does not directly affect you, you're not really that interested. They're like,
Exactly.
oh, there's a
It's not my
there's an
business.
event about like blind people. Why should I be there? There's an event about a deaf person. Why should I be there? You get like you need to actually be like involved,
Yeah.
because I mean like you'd never know who you're going to meet, right? That would need this or would have this disability. How would you react to the person? How would you take care of this person? How would you relate to this person? And then yeah, just wherever you see these materials being out there, videos like we've talked about, podcasts like this, interact with it, engage with it,
And actually
educate
listen to
yourself.
like the long form content.
Exactly.
Don't just scroll at the preview that you see on
It's like,
Instagram.
oh, okay, because this has to do with sickle cell, it's not my
It's
business.
not, yeah.
Nah.
Or because you don't know
Yeah,
anybody
you just don't know anybody
that
who
it
is
directly
exactly.
affects.
So
Yeah.
we all need to. I think we just need to kind of tap into that our human nature and just know, okay, that there are people going through things that I do not understand. I want to understand.
Exactly.
Right. So let's use more channels, and for organizations, international organizations, we definitely like we for international organizations we definitely need more funding to other smaller organizations who are trying to do things differently, who are trying to reach out, because I don't think there's a lack of people trying to spread information. There's just a lack of people supporting it, or a lack of funding, right, in general. And I just think so also organizations, I'm not just talking about like organizations, I'm just talking about businesses. I feel like more businesses need to employ more people with sickle cell.
Absolutely.
They should be more inclusive, and not just sickle cell, also people with disabilities in general, because um we get kind of like there's a lot of stigma, like, oh, we're trying to get the most, okay, we're trying to get the most work out of this person, but oh, we don't want excuses, right?
Right.
I've worked in places where, so everywhere I've worked, I've told them about my health condition. And that's the funny thing, you would expect people to be like, oh no, we can't work with you, but they always do, right? So that means it's not impossible to actually employ people who are sickle cell.
And if you do good work,
And if
why
you
would
do
they
good
not want
work,
to work
exactly,
with you?
why would they not work? It's just that, yes, there are times where I've literally, like I said, I've traveled and I've fallen ill, right? And then I had to be either rushed to the hospitals or sent back to Abuja or something. But you understanding my own, like my health, for example, um I feel that would make it better for me. Also, it literally make me like feel much better if everybody really understands. Like when I was in school, I would miss exams because sometimes I could be in hospital for 2 3 weeks then at that time, and then I'll come back and everybody has written exams, and then right, they can't even send it to me. You know how you hear that they'll send exams to people in the sick bed, like which hand am I going to use to write? So we need more schools, more offices to be more inclusive and understand where we are coming from, know our limitations. And also I think there's one thing like we've not really spoken about, but like I think it's a very big deal about sickle cell is mental health. Yeah, so I think more people need to understand the mental health struggles.
Yeah, you
Um,
did touch on it a little bit about when you said that
yeah,
like the battle is in the mind. It's
exactly.
on the
Yeah,
mental level more
yeah,
than even the physical level.
yeah,
And people don't understand that like you're just like you're wrestling with that
exactly.
constantly.
Yeah.
Um
So I feel like people need to know that like there even should be a support group.
yeah.
um, I remember having a conversation with someone recently. She's a she's a mother and she's also a wife and she's sickle cell. And I remember going back and forth with her and we were just talking. It was so amazing how like we had so much in common and then we had gone through like a lot. So I think more forums with like people who can speak about like the issues you're going through. Like these are things people do not know. They can't see, like you
You
said,
can't see it,
exactly.
yeah.
So it would just be nice to have that. I hope more people are willing to support more people are willing to invest, and more people can definitely, what's the word, more people can
Get involved.
get involved, yeah,
Yeah.
fully, yeah.
Yeah,
So
we have
yeah.
to take a proactive approach.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you can't just be like being passive, scrolling, on scrolling past,
Yeah.
important posts that your friends or colleagues or
Mm-hmm.
neighbors are posting about, certain like disabilities
Yeah.
or conditions because it doesn't directly affect you or somebody very close to you
Mm-hmm.
is wrong. And
Yeah.
we need to call it out. Like, I think just being more curious about the world
Yeah.
that we live in, being more curious about the people around you is a good step. It's a
Yeah.
good first step.
Yeah.
Just get curious. You don't have to be a an activist or an advocate overnight,
Yeah.
but just be informed so that you know.
Yeah.
And I think that knowledge is really lacking. But again, it's an ongoing conversation, and it's something that we just have to like pioneer and be very, very intentional about. And
Yeah.
then, as the more we're doing this work, the more people will
Yeah.
hopefully,
Well,
join.
you guys are doing
Yeah.
an
You're also
amazing
doing
work
the
so
work.
far.
We're all
Yeah.
in this together. So
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, it's just we got to keep pushing. But I love everything you said. It's super insightful. Like I've even learned, and I
Yeah.
have some takeaways myself, and I'm sure like our listeners do as well.
Yeah.
Kala, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.